There are some black conservatives who are out here doing some serious damage to the African American community. Have you ever thought about why are they so dangerous? Why is it that white people are using them so effectively to harm the African American community? Well, stay tuned, because in this video, I'll explain it. Hello, everybody. This is Attorney Augustus Corbett, and welcome to the Defiant Lawyers, where we bring you one legal analysis of some trending story having to do with politics, policies, personalities, or pop culture at least once a week for the purpose of empowering you to defy an unjust legal system and to nullify systemic racism. If that interests you, please like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the bell so you'll get notified every time we upload one of our videos. Again, thank you for tuning in. And yes, I want to answer a simple question. Why is it that some black conservatives are able to do serious damage to the African American community? Why are they so effective? Well, I'm going to share with you some information that I think will help you understand why these people are dangerous, and they are what I would call enemies to the African American community. All right, now before we get into that, please, I want to remind you and to encourage you to grab a copy of my book, Education and Justice: How Public Schools Fail African American Males. It is a very important book if you have a young man, even a young woman, who attend the public school system. So go to Amazon and grab your copy. So let's get into this. I hope you're doing fine. I hope you are having a great day. I am, and I look forward to coming to you with another video and giving you some information that I think is very empowering. All right, so again, the title today is What Makes Some Black Conservatives Dangerous? What is it? Well, let's find out. One of the biggest and most hideous lies that white and black conservatives spread to and about black Americans is we're the root cause of poverty, crime, broken families, and so on in our neighborhoods. This is false. Now, let me explain what I'm saying. Certainly, we may be and oftentimes are the immediate cause for those things, but we're not the root cause. The root cause is systemic oppression. So shamefully, some black conservatives, like Judas selling out Jesus for 30 pieces of silver, have sold out black people by giving white conservatives cover and absolution to spread this vicious lie. This is a white supremacist lie, again, that says black people are the root cause of all their issues. Black culture, black intelligence or lack thereof, all of these things. What do? They absolve white supremacy. And who enables white people to make that argument? Black conservatives. Because they are essentially saying to white conservatives, you got it right. You got it right. White supremacy, slavery, none of that has anything to do with where black people are today. It is all because of black people. So they tell their white masters, you have no blame, no fault in the issues that you see in the African American community. Meanwhile, those same black conservatives are telling black people, you're the problem. You're the problem. White people are not the problem. Those good white people are not the problem. You're the problem. So that makes it easy for somebody like Candace Owens to say about George Floyd as he begged for life that, well, George, essentially you brought this on yourself because of your criminal record, because of the things you've done in your life. So you can't blame your death on this white cop who we all saw choke George Floyd to death, and a jury found him guilty. But according to Candace Owens and other black conservatives, that wasn't the real issue. The real issue was George Floyd himself. So Mr. Floyd is simply sort of an example of how black conservatives will come to the scene of white supremacists and give them absolution. I mean, that's basically their job oftentimes, and that makes them very dangerous, and that makes me very angry, because the problems we see in the African American community are rooted in systemic oppression, systemic racism, 400 years of white supremacy. You must be clear on that. Otherwise, you'll start blaming yourself and other black people for problems that we were basically innocent of causing. Hey everyone, I am attorney Augustus Corbett, one half of the Defiant Lawyers. Recently, I took a look at our analytics and I noticed something shocking. Many of you watch our videos and I believe you enjoy them, but you haven't subscribed yet. What are you waiting for? Again, I was shocked because I know our content is empowering and informative. Plus, our 2024 goal is to have 150,000 subscribers before the end of the year. Please help us by hitting that subscribe button, especially you young folks. We particularly want to increase our number of young subscribers. Thanks for all your continued support. We appreciate it very much. I mean, it wasn't us who created this country and essentially made it favorable for white people and extremely disfavorable for black folks. We didn't do that. We didn't create the country that way. We were born in it, and we have to deal with it. And because we're dealing under those circumstances and within that context, yes, it does cause crime and poverty and so forth to be in our communities disproportionately. So yes, we're the immediate cause of these things, but we're not the root cause. And you got to be very, very clear about that. So let's continue talking about how white supremacists use black conservatives to make that shameful argument and other arguments. Now, when I talk about black conservatives, let me say this. Not all black conservatives are dangerous. The black community is generally conservative because of our strong affiliation with the church. In fact, according to the Pew Research Center, African Americans are moderately conservative, with 25% of us identifying as conservative and 43% identifying as moderate. So that leaves, if I do my math correct, that's 68% of the African American community that would be or could be classified as moderately conservative, which therefore means only 32% would identify themselves as liberal. Now, conservative means that you want to conserve certain core values. For example, strong families, traditional marriage, church attendance, strong work ethics, and so on. So many African Americans would therefore be categorized as conservative, at least on some issues. So I'm not talking about the vast majority of the African American community when I talk about the dangerousness of some black conservatives. I'm talking about those black conservatives who apparently want to conserve white supremacy by their support and defense of white supremacy politicians, policies, and practices. I'm talking about that crowd of people. All right? Now, you've heard me use the word white supremacy a lot. Let me tell you what I mean when I use the word white supremacy or the term white supremacy. White supremacy is the false belief that white people in their culture are superior, and therefore white people should dominate the world. So white supremacy is the false belief that white people in white culture are superior, and therefore, because they believe they are superior, they believe they should dominate the world. Now watch this. White supremacy may or may not be accompanied with hatred and animosity. There are many white supremacists who are nice people, who don't have blatant hatred toward blacks, Latinos, etc. And then there are some who do. There are some who have not only the white supremacist belief, but they also have the hatred, the violence, the animus, the disdain for other people groups, especially African Americans. But it doesn't have to be. And sometimes that can be misleading because some white supremacists are really nice and you begin to think, okay, this is not a white supremacist. This is a really nice white person. And that's where you mess up. You see, that's how a lot of rappers got misled and fooled about Donald Trump. We remember in the 90s how the rappers would use Donald Trump's name in their rap songs and how many of them even today embrace Trump. Why? Because Trump in person, although I don't know him personally, it is reported that he can be very personable, very nice, big smile. He is good at making people feel that he is a good person and not a white supremacist. Because keep in mind, Trump is a con man. I mean, he's a con man, so he knows how to work the room. He knows how to give you a smile, how to shake your hand. We've seen him do it. We've seen him talk to black conservative audiences and how he will joke and laugh and be, real congenial with those black conservatives and, trying to make them feel good about who he is and so forth. Oh, come on. But if you watch him closely, you'll see. If you listen closely, you'll see. If you study his record, you'll see. Like when he was at Chick-fil-A here recently, and he asked the young black lady to come and give him a hug, right? That was Trump working the room. But notice something. I don't know if you noticed it, but he didn't want that hug to last too long. And after a while, he kind of started pulling away from her. You see, his real true colors started coming out. And that's the way a white supremacist is. They'll be nice for a minute, but their true colors will come out. So don't be deceived by the niceness of a white supremacist. Now, white supremacy is characterized with the notion that other people groups are inherently less intelligent, less beautiful, less refined, etc. So in essence, white supremacists believe when they colonize a people, they're doing those people a favor. We are blessing you with whiteness. You should feel good to be enslaved by us because you are of the lesser stock, and the more you're around us, the more refined and cultured you will become. So we're actually doing you a favor by enslaving you. That's how sick white supremacy is. All right, now, white supremacy is rooted in perverted interpretations of the Bible and junk science. Now, you all know or should know that in addition to being an attorney, I am a Christian minister and have been so for many years. But I am a Christian minister whose eyes are wide open. I'm woke. I'm a woke Christian minister, which means I understand what the Bible has to say about racial justice and about white supremacy. Therefore, my belief on race and racism, it's very different than a lot of traditional black ministers. For example, the perverted interpretation of scriptures that gave rise to white supremacy, like, for example, the curse of Ham. I know that's false, but white supremacy is based on that type of perversion of scripture. White supremacists whitewashed the scriptures, made Jesus white, made the disciples white. They made all the Bible characters white, and they omit or overlook all the many scriptures in the Bible where God talks about treating people with equity and equality and fairness. They overlook all of that. In fact, the slave Bible, which white supremacists use to try to make slaves, just be good slaves, obedient slaves. That slave Bible that they use, they cut out all the many verses and books of the Bible where the slaves would have known that this is a bunch of garbage, this white supremacy. They cut all that out of the Bible. Well, see, I'm not your typical black clergy because I know better. I've studied the Bible, and I don't look at the Bible through a white lens. I don't embrace white theology. You follow me? So I know white supremacy has perverted scripture that gave rise to white supremacy. So I know black people are not cursed. I know black culture is not cursed. I know that. And I also know, as I have here, that white supremacy has been used to justify much evil toward non-white people. Okay? Now, here are some black conservatives that are dangerous. They are dangerous. Candace Owens, Tim Scott, Ben Carson, Clarence Thomas, Thomas Sowell. They are dangerous and enemies to the African American community. Tim Scott infamously said that America is not a racist country. Candace Owens has said so much that I've already dealt with in other videos. Ben Carson, wow, he said Obamacare was the worst thing since slavery. I mean, that's just one of many things that he said. Clarence Thomas has been on the U.S. Supreme Court now for decades, just really wreaking havoc on the African American community. Thomas Sowell is probably considered the godfather of black conservatism. So these 5 people here are the tip of the iceberg of black conservatives who are extremely dangerous and are enemies to the black community. Now, again, you heard me say, not all black conservatives are dangerous, because many in the black community, the majority, are conservative in the sense that they want to conserve certain things. They don't want to conserve, as these 5 appear to do, they don't want to conserve white supremacy. Are you with me? Now, here's another set of Republicans, some who would be considered conservative, who are not what I would consider dangerous. Colin Powell, the late General Colin Powell, he was a Republican and conservative on issues, no doubt about it. But we heard him many times publicly on a national stage rebuke the Republican Party. We heard him do that several times. And Michael Steele, who was once over the Republican Party, he's a conservative, he's a Republican, but I would not consider him to be dangerous. Sophia Nelson, Condoleezza Rice, Michael Singleton. I mean, these folks are conservative. They are part of the Republican Party, with the exception, again, of the late Colin Powell. But they're not on the same level as the 5 people that I just showed you. I heard Condoleezza Rice talk about the fact that America was born with a birth defect of racism. Sophia Nelson certainly is not on that same level. She criticizes those people. So does Michael Steele. And I've heard also Shermichael Singleton, although he's probably more conservative than these others here, but he has serious issues with Donald Trump and Donald Trump's first and hopefully only last administration. So I'm just trying to show you that there are black conservatives who are very different than this crowd. This crowd is dangerous and they are enemies. So, what type of black conservative is dangerous to the African American community? Who should we look out for? And what should we look out for? I got a number of things here that I believe will help us with that. These 10 characteristics make some black conservatives dangerous and enemies of the black community. Number one, if they support Trump, they're dangerous. And they are an enemy of the black community, flat out. And that would include those other ones. If they support Trump, because Trump is an avid, blatant white supremacist who wants to come back in office and bring his white supremacist friends, 3, 4, 5,000 of them, even more, and exact serious damage to the African American community. Trump is dangerous, and those who support him are dangerous. And I want to be clear about that. I want to be very clear about that. A black person who supports Donald Trump is a dangerous black person to the black community. Now, I know that's strong, but I stand on it. I stand on business. I stand by it because I know what this man is up to. I know what he has done. I know what he intends to do. He said it out of his own mouth. You want to make America great again. Great for white people. So, first characteristic, support Trump. Second, support white supremacy policies and politicians. Any African American who supports white supremacy policies and or politicians are dangerous to the African American community and their enemies. Those who deny white supremacy, like Jesse Lee Peterson and others, Tim Scott, there is no white supremacy in their minds. They are dangerous. They want you to shut your eyes to the obvious. They want you to be unaware to the obvious. They are doing the bidding of their masters by telling Black America that there is no white supremacy. Even white supremacists will tell you that there is white supremacy. They fail to criticize white supremacy. So let's say they say, okay, there may be some white supremacy around, some of it a little bit like a boogeyman. I remember Vivek Ramaswamy saying that white supremacists are like the boogeyman. Maybe you'll run into one. Well, I didn't expect anything better from him, but there are a whole lot of black people who believe the same thing, and they will not criticize white supremacy. And see, here's the difference. We will criticize those in our community. I voted for Barack Obama twice, proud of it, but I criticized him when I felt like he wasn't doing enough for black people. When I felt like he was doing more for other people, I criticized him. But these folks will not criticize white supremacy or white supremacists. They conceal their support for white supremacy. There are a lot of blacks, some on YouTube, who try to put forth the front that they're all pro-black, but they espouse people and policies that are white supremacists and white supremacy. So it is a dangerous black person who conceal their support for white supremacy. I actually think, for example, Charlemagne has some support in his heart and mind for white supremacy, Although, he's quick to say Trump is a fascist and all of that, but then to embrace Candace Owens. I saw him the other day. He had Eric Dyson on his show. And by the way, go watch that. That was a masterclass. Eric Dyson was saying all the things I have said on this channel and would say to Charlemagne if I was sitting in that chair. But of course, Eric Dyson is very eloquent, and it was really, really very good. And if you compare Charlemagne's demeanor with Eric Dyson versus his demeanor with Candace Owens, he pushed back with Eric Dyson. He seldom pushed back with Candace Owens. So again, go watch that video of Eric Dyson on the Breakfast Club. So they conceal their support for white supremacy. Those who do that, black conservatives who do that, are dangerous. They are wolves in sheep's clothing. They absolve white supremacy, slavery, Jim Crow. They essentially try to tell us that white supremacy is a thing of the past or that it was never there. We heard Nikki Haley say that. Nikki Haley is not black, but she is a person of color and should know better than saying that. Sitting on the Breakfast Club, speaking to a couple of million black people, and got the nerve to absolve white supremacy. By absolve, I mean to essentially declare white supremacy as either non-existent or non-evil or non-responsible for any of the ills in the black community. So just absolving it, saying it's okay, saying that slavery is okay. I heard Ben Carson say that, saying that Jim Crow is okay. They argue that black culture is the root cause of black poverty, crime, etc., and white supremacy has nothing to do with it. And as I explained earlier, we may be the immediate cause of some of these things, but we're not the root cause. We are not the root cause. But black conservatives will say that we are the root cause, and then we'll say that we are playing the victim card if we don't accept responsibility for all the black poverty and crime that we see in some black neighborhoods. In other words, what they're saying to us is take your minds off white supremacists and white supremacy and blame yourself for all that you see in the black community. So 246 years of slavery, 100 years of Jim Crow, current modern day systemic racism has nothing to do with black crime and poverty and drugs and gangs in our community. Nah, it's all black culture. Let me tell you right now that is total malarkey. And I'm planning a video to talk about the differences between black culture and white culture. And we'll see which is more evil. Black culture versus white culture. We'll see. I'm going to be releasing that video soon. Those who profit, black conservatives who profit from supporting white supremacy. That can be very lucrative. That can be extremely lucrative to be a black person who supports white supremacy. You can get rich doing that. That's a whole career path that many black folks have taken. And by the way, this sort of sellout type of race trader, Benedict Arnold type black person, we're not just seeing that for the first time. There were those during slavery, during Jim Crow, who were complicit, who compromised, who gleefully and gladly at times participated in white supremacist oppression. So this is not new. It's not a new phenomena. It just seems like it has sort of repped up. All right? Those who use the Bible to support white supremacy are also dangerous. So we'll find that amongst the Christian community. A lot of black clergymen will use the Bible to justify white supremacy. Watch out for them. Those who exhibit black self-hatred are also dangerous black conservatives. And you can tell when they have that self-hatred. There are keys. I'll do that in another video as well. So what should our attitude be toward these dangerous black conservatives? How should we handle them? First of all, let me say this. I do not believe in, nor do I encourage or recommend any kind of violence. No, that is not the way to deal with these people. All that's going to do is cause you to get seriously jammed up. So no, not advocating violence and hatred and so on. But there are some things that we do need to do to protect our community. We need to isolate them. We need to isolate them. They don't need to be getting any invitations to the cookout or to the Breakfast Club or the Joe Budden podcast. We need to isolate them so that they cannot do damage and harm, spreading this misleading white supremacist narrative in our community. That is basically their job. That's what many of them get paid to do. And watch this. I said it before, I'll say it again. The folks who, for example, take Candace Owens. She could come out and say all sorts of things. In fact, it was almost as if it was her job to come out and to say all sorts of things about Ahmaud Arbery when he was lynched, George Floyd when he was lynched, Breonna Taylor when she was lynched. She could come out and say all sorts of things about those people to us. But notice the moment she started saying things that were deemed anti-Semitic, those same folks that she were aligned with, Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk, they cut her. That sent the message that you can say whatever you want to say to black people, to your people, to those that look like you, but you will not disparage in any way our people, the Jewish community. So yeah, black conservatives can take cheap shots with us because there is not that proverbial price to pay. But there is that price to pay. You will get canceled as a black conservative if you speak out on whites or Jews and so forth. Are you with me? So we need to, as the Jewish community did with Candace Owen, we need to isolate her as well. We need to cancel and neutralize her and others like her. Shun them, just on a personal level. Shun them. Shun Candace Owens. Shun them. Close them out. Don't even listen to that garbage. Don't even pay attention to her basically blaming black people for all the issues in the black community. And again, those other conservatives, black conservatives. Prepare for them. Because as you see, Candace Owens is very articulate. She talks very well, talks really fast. I seen her try to go toe-to-toe with Cornel West. And she did a terrible job trying to go against Cornel West, a man who's written many books and read many more books and a professor, a teacher, a PhD, and so on. He showed her up, but she stood there and went toe-to-toe with him. So you got to prepare when you deal with these black conservatives. In other words, do your homework, do your research so that you can answer them and show them where they align, where they are misleading and giving misleading facts and giving misleading information. Prepare, do your research, correct them. Correct them. Don't do what Charlemagne did and essentially allow black conservatives to just say whatever they want to say on your platform, big or small. Correct them. And reveal them. Because again, some are stealth. Some are covert. Some talk pro-black, but they espouse pro-white supremacy talking points. So reveal them. Let everyone know who they are. So that's how you deal with dangerous black conservatives. We don't have to be and should not be violent. We should not be belligerent and so on. But we do need to isolate them and shun them and correct them and do what is necessary to prevent them from spreading their misleading garbage, their lies to the African American community. All right, so that's what I wanted to share with you about what makes some black conservatives dangerous. Again, I am attorney Augustus Corbett, one half of the Defiant Lawyers, and this is what we bring you at least once a week, oftentimes more than that. Thank you for all your support. Again, let me remind you, go get my book, Education and Justice, and also go to our website, lljp.org, and sign up and join our email list. Okay? Until the next time, peace.